This is indeed one of the most dramatic stories. The focus, of course, on Jesus and much on his disciples. But I'd like to reflect briefly this morning on three of the scenes that maybe we often overlook when we read the gospel passage. The first happens at Bethany, the evening before the unfolding of all this tragedy, when an unnamed woman breaks that alabaster jar of precious oil and pours it over Jesus' head. The response of the disciples is indignant and later infuriated. But Jesus comes to the defense of this woman. Let her alone. She has done a good thing for me. She has done what she could. Somehow this woman sensed a sorrow growing in Jesus. His disciples didn't know it. They didn't recognize it. But this woman knew that there was a deep sorrow that Jesus was experiencing, and she wanted to do what she could do, is give him the comfort of that anointing. Jesus appreciated that she did what she could do. The second scene is in the garden, where Jesus has now been arrested. And Mark tells us all of his disciples fled. But there was one young man who continued to follow, wearing only that linen cloth. But he did what he could do. He continued to follow. When all the disciples had abandoned him, there was one young man who wanted to stay with him until guards seized him, and he had to flee, leaving behind his garment. But he was doing what he could do. The third scene, when Jesus has now been scourged, beaten, and the last indignant thing Mark tells us, they spit upon him. There's nothing more humiliating, degrading, than to have someone spit on you, to spit in your face. And what does Jesus do? He simply suffers that indignation. He does nothing to counteract it. His is a suffering love that knows no bounds. All of us are called to do what we can do when we are following the suffering love of Jesus. There was a moment in the life of Mother Teresa of Calcutta when she went into the baker's shop begging for bread for her children, these poor children, begging the owner to give her some bread. Instead, he reaches back and spits in her face. Mother Teresa calmly wiped it, tasted it, and said, thank you for what you have given me. Now, please give me some bread for the children. Shame and in admiration of this woman, he provided her the bread. She learned that from Jesus. She learned that we do not counteract violence with violence. That doesn't solve any of the world's problems. She took on the role of suffering love. And that countered the offensive action of that bakery owner. To me, we are all challenged as we enter now in Holy Week to see in what ways we too are ready to following this suffering love. What ways are we willing to share in that suffering? Like the woman in the first scene, what is it we can do? Jesus said she did what she could. We can't counteract all the violence in the world. We can't counteract all the evil. We can't solve all of that. But I think the role of disciples who are trying to follow the suffering love of Jesus, we try to do what we can do. So as we enter into this Holy Week, I invite you to kind of ask yourself that question: what can I do? What is God asking of me? At the very end of the life of St. Francis, he said to his disciples, God has shown me what is mine to do. May the Lord show you what is yours to do. Like the woman in the first scene, or Mother Teresa, in response to the third scene, or even the young man who was willing to go it alone when everybody else was leaving Jesus. He was willing to continue to follow. What is ours to do as we enter this Holy Week? And I just invite a short time of silence.